All right, good morning. Yeah, PCE come in this morning. I think a little hotter than expected. We're sitting right around yesterday's RTH lows in ES, right here. Below that in NQ. So there's a small gap in NQ up to 19,937. Stay aware of that. Couldn't get any real follow through back to the upside yesterday. It really looked like it really made a try and wanted to push higher, but just couldn't quite do it. Couldn't quite get out of the main value area from the previous day. So right now we're kind of in a downtrend. If you want to call it that, from the past couple of days since the big drop. So it's Friday. Going to try to be smart, be patient, wait for really good trades, and do my best to go into the weekend with a good feeling. Yo, B man, I see you in here. Yeah, it definitely has a weak look for sure. But we got to wait for the setup. Right now, what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking about are two things. One, on the ES, that 5701 is a decent downside target to begin with. That is the value area high from Friday, 321 last Friday, so a week ago. But what I want to see before I would consider the trade would be a prime spot to have a stop. And I would definitely want to see, stochastics roll over to the downside. So the blue and the purple on here on my charts is basically just, it's just an indicative of what stochastic is doing. If stochastics are turned up, these bars are blue. If it's turned down, these bars are purple. And to me, that's just an added visual reminder of which way momentum is going. It's pointing. So that's just something I look at to remind myself to try to go with momentum. So the two, I consider momentum and trend to be two different things. I don't know if that makes sense for other people or if it's, other people think that way, but I do. I kind of look at the trend as whether we're up, above or below this line, the 21 EMA. And then I consider momentum to be separate. Trend is I guess like more powerful. Momentum is, are we, actually moving that way? So downside, gonna wait for momentum, try to look that way and give us a good spot to have a stop. To the upside though, I mean, it could, I'm open to that idea too. We got to be open to all ideas. To the upside, you could target previous day's close, previous day's point of control, and then you could target previous day's value area high. I would have to see us break above this 57.35 area and then come back in for a pullback before taking that trade. I don't know if it's a trade before then. So I'm really going to focus today on being cautious and waiting for the right setup, waiting for the right timing of these trades. Like I said, especially given Friday. Fridays are just, I know I'm not the only one, just so notorious for just, giving back gains on the week. And then, you go home for the weekend and you just feel like shit because you got to sit with that bad feeling for the rest of the week, or for the rest of the weekend. And that sucks. So I'm going to really try to focus here and make good trades today. All right, so this is kind of looking decent. Starting to look a little decent for the look down. We did fill that RTH gap in NQ. It tried higher here in ES, turned lower. Stochastics are looking like they want to roll. Yeah. So right now, I think, well, what I'm looking for is lower. Which makes a lot of sense. Gonna give it a little more time though. Still trying to figure out how the live stream affects me. Initially, it definitely felt like it helped my execution, but there's been a couple days this week where I definitely felt extra nervous. Trying to figure out those emotions. All right, I'm gonna give this a shot on ES here. Right at 1750 and 1850 and just 2 micros, and I'm gonna put a stop initially above this 32 and hoping to pull that in. Maybe a little too early on that. Yeah, but I'm gonna give it a shot. All right, so I just saw there's data in 10 minutes. That's going to be some data that people actually look at, consumer sentiment. Gives me pause about this position because I didn't think about that. Probably going to spike one way or the other. when that data hits. And I could see us holding in a pattern before that. I'm not sure. I might decide to cut it before then, given that. I'm gonna think about it. All right, so it wasn't really going anywhere. Like I said, we've got that data coming out. So I'm probably gonna wait for that. And then here we go, look at this. Look at it go. We're just gonna go right after I cut it, but that's okay. I'm probably now not gonna put on a trade till after that data comes out. So we've got about 8 minutes till then. So probably gonna make some coffee and chill for a bit. And this is gonna annoy the shit out of me if it drops here. Look at that, that's impeccable timing. The worst. There's something to be said about also being the opposite of taking too many trades. Not sure if I want to use the word on stream, but being scared or cutting stuff early. I've definitely found myself to do that a lot more when I'm on stream here. I think it's like I don't want to look like a dummy. Wow, yeah, look at this. So there it goes. Would have been a good trade for me. But it's okay. It's Friday once again. Gonna wait for this data. I just kind of thought that maybe we would sit there and hold in a holding pattern before the data, in that range. But I guess the original idea was good. All right. Still gonna wait for the data at this point. There's that data. Scared money don't make money. That would have been a great trade. I mean, that is just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. I remember, I distinctly remember a very specific another time where I did the exact same thing. It was where a friend of mine was watching me trade, and I was in a trade, and he was, it looked decent, and he was like, "Isn't the market about to open? Do you wanna have a trade on there?" And I was like, "You're right." And I took it off, and then it it went my way like majorly, and I was like, "Oh, great." So I don't know. I don't really have a good protocol about that. Because I got in the trade not thinking about the fact that we had data in 10 minutes. And then when you do that and you forget that there's something coming, your brain automatically, I feel like, usually turns that to, it's a fearful thing. What if it doesn't? What if it spikes against me, as opposed to the opposite? Oh, what if it goes my way? I think it's more likely, or at least for me, to think that it's going to go against me with data. But I mean, let's say the entry was pretty good in hindsight. It was a good look. I'll take that positive away. I mean, right there, stochastic started to look like it was turning. I did get a little early on it. Took a few points of heat, but was thinking this 5701 level, that was that Friday's value area high. Would have been a good trade. I think I was in there like at 18 average, 57.18. Nice little 20-point trade. Could have been, would have been. Took off at essentially break even. Oh well. Moving on to the next one. And try to stay positive here. Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, the counterpoint to like those being risky events is that I did have a stop in. I did move my stop lower, so it was at like, my stop was at 57.25 ish. So I was risking like 7 points on 2 micros. That's $70. That's like well within the range of what I'm willing to risk. So I think, yeah, I don't know. The stuff like that's so tricky. But I could have, obviously this is hindsight, but I definitely could have just like let it play out, leave the risk, leave the stop there. And then, move the stop to break even. It was probably born out of the need to not give up $1 a day. Okay, but now we're through the data. Now it's time to look for the next setup. Stochastic's still down. NASDAQ is just now breaking through. NASDAQ really just, when I look at it right now, it looks pretty decent. I think the target could be that Friday's value area low, which is 120 points lower. There's going to be some resistance in there, or some support in there, around 770. That's significantly lower though. That's a low volume area. But I kind of feel like you could take this here with the stop right above 880. 40 points, that's not bad. 1 micro. Kind of the same with the ES. I think I could actually get back in here, stop above 11. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that right here. What is this? Okay, so these are working immediately. I just got an error message on my Ninja. Let me put these stops in before I forget. 7 at 12. And stop of 880, 19,880. Yeah, okay, so these are moving nicely now. I gotta split my attention here though and figure out what's going on with this Ninja. Okay, so where am I targeting here? I'm gonna target 56.84 on ES, make it 85, 85.50. And then, dang, we're already right there on NQ. 86. Jeez. Okay. And we'll take that NQ off and get another look. Okay, so that was a nice win. These errors though. This copy trader's messing up. That was a solid win on that. Where we go. Okay. So that was 50 points. 50, yeah, what's that 50 points? 830-ish to 96. So like 40 to 45 points on NASDAQ, not bad. Probably this was that area, my initial support. The ultimate is probably right in here. Ultimate target 720. I'm gonna see if it pulls back again. Gives me another entry. If it gives me another entry, I'll get in again. Otherwise, I'm not gonna worry about it. And this ES, stinking quick. Going towards that. Let's see, what is that number? Yeah, that's like a low volume area. Got there quickly as well. If it sits around here, I probably won't be a dick for a tick and I'll take it off. $8.25. Okay, so got to 88.25. My target is 85.50. Gonna keep moving this stop lower too. Lock it in. I'm just cutting it here, right around 91. Pretty good trade. When was that? 04-ish, 57.04, about 90, 91, 13, 14 points. I'm good with that. Even if it hits this target, that's fine. So those are good trades. Looks like we're up 150 per account on the day. I passed 2 more Apex evals yesterday, so now I have 10 accounts. All right, so if we get some sort of bounce, this is a low volume area right here, 56.98. Right back to the top of this area. Maybe in here, maybe the break, closer to the break. We get something like that and then come back in, start to look like it wants to go lower again, I'll try another trade. But right now, that was a good trade. Could have held longer for sure. Could have had that initial short for longer, but this is fine. And now I gotta figure out what's going on with this ninja. All right, so here we are. Got down to that target in ES. There's a low volume area. There's a point of control. That's the point of control from Friday. That's definitely a good target. 72-ish. NASDAQ, we're at the value area high, low from that Friday. Look at this thing go. What did I cut? I cut around like 86. Yeah, definitely left a lot on that table. That's something definitely I gotta work on. Just holding these trades long if they're working. Best loser wins. That's all he talks about essentially. Good book. You gotten that book yet, B-Man? Nice. Yeah. I feel like he just kind of repeats himself mainly throughout the book. So if you read the first few chapters, you probably got most of the gist. But sometimes it's just good to read that stuff over and over again because it just kind of gives you that inspirational feeling going into the week. Yeah, I mean the note target that is definitely next level for sure. That is but I like it, man. That's like that really is when I think about like the ultimate trading, that's ultimate trading. Like it means you literally don't care. You don't care at all whether price comes back to you, and you're just gonna like take everything the market gives you. That takes some big balls, major confidence. There's plenty of times I think about that, like back in the fall, I felt like when we were in more of a very bullish market, there's so many times where I like that idea reminded me, because we'd have these big moves that just like blow through all these levels. I had all these levels up top, everything, you know, it's like all these logical levels. I'm like, oh, I'll take profit here. Oh, I'll take profit here. And then I find myself just taking profit, and then it blows through it. And then I get in higher, and then I take profit and just repeat the cycle over and over, as opposed to if I just like kept the trade on, it'd be huge. I'd say this is a very similar situation. Look at this. I've had like 2 or 3 targets already in Q and in ES, 2 in ES now. And this market just blown through them. And really, if you just move your stop down, if you just constantly move your stop down, at the very least, like the top of every 5-minute bar. You might have been stopped out here, but at the very least in ES, you literally still would be in it from the very beginning. Wow, from that first bar, this was the bar that I first got short when I thought that stochastics were turning over. It has literally made a lower high since then. And if you were just, you know, don't even think about it. That's the other thing. Thinking is not, and a lot of times is not very helpful in trading. Don't even think about it. Just put a stop above every bar's high. Just move it down. Still be in the trade. From 18 to 77, that's huge. That's a giant play. I mean, it's not a bad day. I'm not gonna complain. It's $150. That was on one micro of each. But this is my point that I've said to you. Like, look at this. Like, it's 1 micro of each of those. And I didn't even trade that well. I didn't even hold these that well. Imagine if I did have the balls to hold either one of those trades. Let's see. That second one, let's say just forget the scratch first ES trade. I got in at like 57.03 down to here, 80. That's like, 23 plus points right now. That's $115. In Q, where did I get in? Where's that 1 minute? 830 or 130 points lower from there. That's $260. You don't really need much more than 1 or 2 micros to do well enough. And the other thing is that the smaller your sizes, the smaller your emotions are too. So it is easier to hold a trade, but should be easier. But look at me, still dropping them. Are you taking trades today? Nice, man. All right, look, we're already about here on this point of control and ES. Still hasn't given me any sort of entry, so I'm just gonna hold out. Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, just practice, yeah, tiny size and hold on these runners. That is one point that I've had periods where I've done very well at just holding on to my trades. I've had periods, but in general, that is definitely a weak point of mine that I've had forever. I've always been kind of a scalper, and like logic, to me in my mind, it makes sense to be a scalper, which I'm sure it does to everybody. It's easier to predict smaller moves than big moves, but it also means you have to be right so much more often. Look at this thing, just total fail. I mean, this also, looking at a daily chart, this today for sure confirms, it looks like it confirms that was a bear flag that we put up, the run up that we've had in the past, week or so. Definitely looks like this was the break lower of the bear flag. So I think everybody probably expects that. Here's just a mental exercise that I like to go through, to think of like what's the craziest thing that could happen. Right now, everyone for sure thinks everyone's seeing that break lower from the bear flag. Everyone's thinking, oh, for sure this thing's going lower. It's going lower. We're gonna break. We're gonna go to new lows. Maybe it does. When I look at that, that's definitely what I think. But what would surprise the most people? What would surprise most people would be if, like, let's say we just test into this, like just for today, we just test down here, and and then all of a sudden buyers show up, and it says, nope, never mind, we're just gonna fake your ass out, and then we get a squeeze, and then that then reverses the whole thing. And all of a sudden you've got this huge bullish candle we put in on a Friday. And then the up move continues. That sounds improbable at the moment, but I feel like that stuff happens all the time. Yeah, I know it did, but yeah, that was a hugely bullish day, but it was also still in that channel. So as of that day, it still looked like we were in the channel, but yeah, everything looked a lot more bullish 1 week ago than right now. But yeah, that bullish candle was Yeah, that definitely set up for the Sunday night gap up. All right, there's no opportunity here. And there's no way in hell I'm shorting right here. And there's no way in hell I'm getting long right here. So I need some water and I'm gonna go get my coffee. This move, huge, huge down day so far. Or swift. chance for some support here, maybe on NASDAQ. This was Friday's low, right around this level. Still not much I can do. Can't take a long. Not gonna take a short from here. Still just continuing down. Andrew, say something in chat if you're in here. All right, we're approaching Friday's low in ES as well. Huge move. Man, wish I didn't cut those when I did. Could have easily just lowered stop repeatedly. Just stayed in this trade all day. That would have been a huge move. I mean, we're 50 points down from my last entry in ES. Over 200 points lower from my last entry in NQ. This has been nonstop selling from here. If there's any support, it's right here. But where we go from there, I don't know. Below Friday's low in both of both of these, ESN and Q. All right, catching a small bid here. I shouldn't even be considering long, but it does intrigue me. I'm gonna wait. All right, I'm in here. Just see if we can get any sort of decent bounce. All right. That was an advanced move. Don't try that at home. Just took a quick scalp there. But we bounced off of, we went through Friday's low and both of these, put in some bullish candles, getting the curl of momentum. It was worth a shot. Entry, mediocre. Exit, whatever. There's a few points. Yeah. Advanced move. Don't recommend that one. All right. So got out of that little scalp just right. Yeah. Still doesn't look bullish. Momentum did turn on stochastics, at least on ES, but on that candle isn't the best look. Still in the downtrend. I'm asking myself what's the macro here. The only thing I can think of is that we're at months in. We're approaching the April 2nd deadline for the tariffs. That's this coming Wednesday. Going into the weekend, people don't want to be long, I guess. Other than that, I mean, I think PCE did come in a little hot. But I don't get the feeling that the inflation numbers right now are the big headline. I feel like this is all positioning for tariff news. Andrew, chat me up, man. What's going on? What's your day like? Working hard or hardly working? Oh, nice. You're gonna go, you guys doing just a visit? Thanks. You guys are gonna buy straight away? You guys will be there 4 years. Do you think you expect to be there longer for fellowship or anything like that? Yeah, I know. That's kind of my point. Time in the market versus timing the market. Yeah, I mean, what are the studies say about whether or not it's worth buying if you are going to be there for a set amount of time? 4 years or less, with the cost of buying, etc. All right, yeah. Might as well. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be some stable, real estate. It's not like Ann Arbor's going away. You think if you guys move back, you would just keep it, or would that be too big of a stretch having a home across the country? Yeah, I would agree. I don't know. That would be a major pain, I would think. I feel like just being a landlord in general. It's you know, I bet it's tougher than most people think. You can ask Warren. He's a landlord, but I think his has been decently easy. Yeah, bro. Are you just gonna just don't get a job and just be Mr. Mom? Be the full-time caretaker. Let Sylvia bring home the bread. Still no bid here in this market. I don't think that bounce didn't really entice me to get short again. The trades from here on, I think the rest of the day from me are going to be limited. There's going to be limited opportunities to take good trades. I started the day coming in saying I was going to be very selective. I'd say I have been, except for that one little bounce scalp I took. But yeah, man, the initial look and the initial idea was the trade of the day. I essentially shorted right around the highs, but just did not hold on. Took decent. They're both decent wins, but they happened so quickly that it's like one of those ones where it just like drops the target so quickly. You just feel like you got to get out because, I feel like so often when it drops quick like that, you end up seeing a quick bounce as well. But since I got out, it didn't really give me much more opportunity to get back in. We were getting two areas that I had marked as potential targets, just like within 5-10 minutes each time. It's just been a very swift drop. All right, Andrew, let's hear your audio complaints. What do you not like about my audio right now? I need the criticism and the feedback. But is that just my voice? Do you just hate my voice? And I turned the music down because I didn't want it to be too obtrusive. I didn't want it to be like you're just listening, you're just on here listening to this music. And if you hate the music, you're going to go away. I mean, you probably hate the music too anyway. Oh, you can't hear the music at all? Okay, I'll turn it up some. Okay, I just turned it up. It was at 65%. Now it's at 75%. Can you hear it now? Just don't want it to be too loud. I don't want to be like, too much. Sometimes it's between tracks. So sometimes there's like no sound or you can barely hear it because it's going to the next track. Okay, it's at 80% now. The main purpose of the music for me is just so people don't think that, you know, my mic's not working or that they're just not hearing audio. Just so it's not just silence when I'm not speaking. Because, you know, there's plenty of times where I'm just not saying anything. And I'm trying to say more, but there's still going to be times where I'm not talking. I don't feel like you're listening if you say that. I mean, there have been trades that I've like, you know, like that scalp. I guess I didn't give a whole lot of detail, but before then, I feel like I've been given pretty decent numbers. I've gone over the trades I did earlier multiple times. So either you weren't in the stream or you weren't listening. But I appreciate the feedback. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't give a whole lot of detail on the scalp because it was a quick one. I mean, I took off, I have the markers on here. I don't know if you can see them. You probably can if you're on your phone. Yes, I got in like right around 56.60. I was looking for 56.66 based off of this right here, this level, 69.50. The low volume area, which is going to be some resistance. So I just wanted to be ahead of that. You can also see this candle right here. It went up to 69.25. So some buyers got caught there. I was just trying to get rid of that scalp ahead of them. And then when I did not see it, it was just hanging around for a long time. Definitely was finding resistance around right before my level at 66. It was kind of stopping around that 65-ish level. That's when I decided to cut it. For NASDAQ, same idea. I mean, it's identical trade pretty much. I got in, let's see, that's around, I think it was 35, 19,635, and I was going for 19,649. It was just kind of a short little scalp, was what I was going for. It kind of lingered there for a bit, and I just didn't want to give it enough time. I didn't want to give it time to, like, you know, side turn around. So I cut that one early. I think at like 45-ish or so. So like 10 points. It ended up getting to that 49, but then, you know, that was it. It literally got to, I think 50, 51. So, and then it completely reversed. So that's why I cut those. The reason why I took them, the reason why I took those trades was because this was a previous level that I had already marked. These were Friday's lows. It broke through it and then reversed it, put in these bullish candles. And so I thought that at the very least, that was some sort of bounce opportunity. You know, on big down days, a lot of, you know, in bearish markets, you're going to get a lot of big bounces, plenty of long opportunities, but you have to be selective. And really, like I was saying, it's not advisable. Don't try it at home. It's, you know, I got out. How much of that was luck that I was able to get out like right by the high, and how much of it was just experience of seeing and just knowing that I'm going against the trend. Just kind of got to cut it. I don't know, but it was a scalp, and it was a tough, quick one to make. This is a big pop right here. I'm gonna guess there's some sort of headline. What time is it? 9:10 our time. Let me see if I can see what that was. This definitely looks headline related. you understand all that? Was my voice clear enough? Was it not? Was my voice not too stupid for you to hear that? So I can go back and talk about the trade I took this morning. So this would have been the big winner, huge winner, had I just had the balls to hold it. So I got short, initially got short right here at 57.18 on ES. I got short there based on just kind of the overall day's look. It tried higher. We're sitting there right at the previous day's low. It just looked bearish. Everything looked bearish. You know, if you look at the longer term, you can just see this downtrend that we're in. We were already in. Stochastics, which is what I look at for momentum. That's my measure of momentum. Started to turn down. We were already down below this 21 EMA, which is an indicator of the trend. So I got short here with a stop above the day's high, right around 32. Right after I got in there, I realized that we were about to have Michigan's consumer sentiment data come out in like 10 minutes. And so I just cut it at like break even, just being scared that we are going to get some sort of spike or something like that before. But it ended up getting down. So my target was like here, 57.01. It ended up getting down there, I think before, or no, it was right after. But it got down to here, like 57.05 before that number even came out. So I kind of just got scared out of it. Not really good reason. But that was fine. So I just, that was a break-even trade. And then after that came out, we kind of bounced around right here, right after that number. But then I got short again at 57.04 on ES, and then 19.830 on NQ, which were both excellent entries. And it immediately, my target for ES was this level, 56.84, and initial target right here was NQ at 7.85. It just like dropped there immediately. So those were decent wins, but obviously looking at it, I could have, hindsight, just trailed my stop and just held on, because I could have just kept lowering my stop above each previous candle on this 5 minute in ES, held it until here 63. So I could have held it for like 40 points. I made like 18. So whatever, hindsight's 50-50, or excuse me, hindsight's 20-20, and you're never gonna get the perfect trade. Nasdaq was the big one that I could have done better at too. I think the 725 level was the more meaningful, but when I see that I already have a level above there, it definitely scares me to not just cut there. But same deal. I could have just kept lowering my stop and just held on to that. That's what a really good trader would do, to catch that trend. But it was still decent money on those. I'm up like just under 190 per account for the day. So we're just sitting here, and it's also Friday. Friday's like a big psychological day. It's important it's too often it's too easy to just give back gains on a Friday. It's like into the game, like don't choke kind of thing, so it's important to go into the weekend with some good feelings. And it's been too often that I've given back too much from the week, having a good week, and then Friday just being stupid and giving things up, and then just like you just feel like shit on the weekend. And so I'm just trying to really focus on just taking good trades and do my best to go into the weekend feeling good. And where we're at right now is a good spot. I mean, I'm fine with, $189 per account right now. I mean, but I'm just leaving myself open to any more good trades. And I think it's important also for me to push my comfort zone a little bit. I'd be comfortable. A comfortable thing to do would be to just be done and quit and just say, all right, well, I made money today. I do want to do better at be better at pushing that when there's opportunity. I didn't do that well on that big down trade, but given the volatility on the day, I think it's likely that there's more opportunities, and I'm just, I'm leaving myself open to that. Okay, so those headlines were Trump talking. He said he had a call with Canada's new Prime Minister, Carney, and he said, we agree on many things and we'll be meeting immediately. He said the call was productive. He said, and he's going to meet with Carney after the election. So I think the market finds that positive on the tariff front, that they're going to come to some sort of agreement for, April 2nd. But looking at this now, I like this look on both of these. A lower low, but stochastics has stayed positive to the upside, and it's still curling higher. That's a nice little divergence that I like that look. It's too early still. We're still, it's still a lower high at this point, but it does pique my interest a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, we're still sitting here right around Friday's lows. So we've definitely found some kind of support at Friday's lows. There's buyers here. Whether they can get it done and we bounce from here, I don't know. That remains to be seen. And the trend's still down. But I'm thinking. Yeah, Andrew, I mean, obviously, no, I wouldn't recommend doing this when you don't have a job. But if you come to these and maybe you'll learn something and you'll see something. I mean, you're autistic, so you got that edge. Just kidding. Chris Taylor, are you Andrew's brother? Or if I just dox you, Andrew? All right. Well, if you have a question, feel free to ask. Is that Lucid Motors? I'm guessing stock. I've admittedly never even looked at that stock, so I can't even comment on it. Cars are pretty cool, I guess. I mean, they're fast. They also just look like giant grandma sedans. So I'm not like a huge fan. I'm guessing as Andrew's younger brother, you're probably more you're like probably into like the meme stocks, etc. Right? He just buys what you tell him to. I don't know if that's a yeah. That's probably not that bad of an idea, unless you're telling him to buy shit like Lucid. All right, Andrew. See you later, man. Have a good weekend. Have fun in Michigan. All right. The turn is still intact. It's still looking like it wants to turn, but it's a slow turn. It's a big ship to turn around. So still nothing yet. And even if it actually does turn, I don't know if it's a trade I really want to take. There's obviously going to be plenty of resistance just above, but it might set up. The smarter trade would be to see if it sets up another opportunity to short. Still doing nothing at the moment. All right, I'm probably gonna give this here a shot. Maybe a short scalp here. Stop below around low of the day. Might be the last trade of the day. Just took the 10 points on NQ. All right, and 2 points in ES. This does look like it definitely has more. I don't think I really have the patience for it at this point. For the rest of the day. Friday, like I've said a million times, just want to preserve. So I'll take the quick hits. They can accumulate for sure. Right now we're up around 217, 218 per account. Somewhere around there. I have 10 accounts, so like 2150 or so. 2150. Decent enough day. Yeah, 217 or so per account. You know, generally speaking, $200. I'm probably good with that on most days. If you can make $200 a day, you can make a living. $100 times 10, not too bad. So I think I'm happy to call it. Been streaming for just over 2 hours now. We're getting pretty close to the lunchtime hour, which means which means a lot of chop. I don't particularly care to trade that, especially on a Friday. So I think this is a good time to end it. So thanks for stopping in, those of you that are here. I think the video will be loaded later for the replay, but I'll be back on Monday. All right.